Gamers Podcast. I am Casey Coggins and joined every week by Alvin Hebert.
What it is.
And Andrew Lira.
Hey, baby.
Well, that's one way to start it.
What's going on?
So we have the NBA draft lottery tonight. It is kind of getting underway. So we'll see whose luck changes and gets Zion Williamson, and whose luck runs out and ends up with Cam Reddish.
The Cavs sent Dan Gilbert's son.
They
Again,
always sent him.
the good luck charm.
Yeah, they always sent him.
The Cavs end up getting the number one pick.
Oh,
So
God, I hope not.
also we
They don't
have
deserve him.
game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals, because we had the couple of game 7s on Sunday, and over the past week, all of those semifinals have wrapped up. Some in not surprising fashion, some in super dramatic fashion, like once in a lifetime kind of fashion. And we're just going to go over basketball pretty much, and then wrap up another week with Fire, Dire, and Prophecies.
Basketball Jones. I'm sorry, what?
I was just seeing the whole movie like going through my head. So first things first, let's recap the last round a little bit. You have Portland going into Denver, Game 7, and pulling one out on the back of CJ McCollum and slightly on the back of Evan Turner. You also in that series had
You gotta keep naming people.
Well, I mean, that Game 7 was those two guys. It was those guys were the catalysts. But for the series, Rodney Hood stepped up, Zach Collins stepped up, Canner played a big role with a separated shoulder. Really, the main guy in that series who didn't show up game in, game out was Dame, but that was because he had all of the attention. I don't think he had a great series, but he made the plays at the right time. And
He stayed
a few of the
aggressive too.
games. Yeah, so I mean they definitely got some unexpected helpers. Then you have Golden State finishing off Houston once again. I believe that is the 4th time in the last 5 years that they have ended the Rockets season. The other time was the Spurs taking it to the Rockets in that Game 6. We still don't know what happened with James Harden. James Harden actually showed up for the most part in this series, but in the fourth quarters of Game 5 and Game 6 was nowhere to be found. Chris Paul actually had a good Game 5 and Game 6, but they didn't capitalize on their opportunity. All the games were close. All 6 games really were like, it could have gone either way, but one team had
The Pelicans are getting the fucking lottery pick, a top 4 pick.
See, now it's rigged. See, that's
we got Lakers, Memphis, and Pelicans right now. Philly's still in play too.
Number
Number 6 is going to the Suns.
So the Warriors, yeah, they had the experience, they had the, I guess, better strategy, and then when Steph gets hot, there's nothing you can do. Then Milwaukee ended.
5th pick is going to be Cleveland. That means Philly. Or no, that's the Knicks. Knicks, Pelicans, Memphis, and Lakers.
We're going to get to the lottery.
Oh, man.
It's getting so excited right now.
Dude.
So Milwaukee finished Boston's very, very much a roller coaster season for Boston. My gut feeling was just indigestion, I guess, a couple months ago. I really thought that they would figure things out, and they never did. Well, they did briefly, but Milwaukee just they stuck to their game plan, and when it was all said and done, Giannis just kind of stamped himself into top 3 player in the league kind of talk.
Yep.
if not best player in the league.
Flexing
Which
that
is
MVP.
which is what we talked about last week. How I said that you have three guys who are really vying for at the end of the playoffs they could be best player in the league, because I don't think LeBron's that anymore. So to go to the next guy who another team that has one of the guys that's vying for best player in the league. The end of the Toronto-Philadelphia series was the craziest end to a series I can kind of remember, because while the Ray Allen shot really sticks out because I'm a Spurs fan, that was just game 6. There was still a game 7. Dame Lillard has a couple series game winners, game winning buzzer beaters. But both of those, one was, just off a catch and shoot coming off of a pick, and it was just a swish. And then the same thing with the other one this playoffs against Oklahoma City, where he hits that step back over Paul George. But this one, Kawhi fading out of bounds, just the worst shot humanly possible, pretty much, over Embiid, who's
he had to put such a high arc on that shot, though.
That's why it bounced.
18 and a half feet is what I heard the apex of that shot was.
Yeah.
And then Legler on ESPN pointed out something that you don't really notice in real time, that, with 4 seconds left, you're expecting the person to shoot the ball right away. And so when Joel Embiid got switched and he's chasing, he kind of already starts to jump, but Kawhi doesn't isn't shooting the ball yet, so he mistimes the jump, so he has to stop his jump, replant, and jump again. And by the time he was able to get a full reach, he wasn't able to get to where the shot was because he had mistimed the jump. And the ball, when he shot it, I was like, "There's no fucking way this ball's going in." And when it hit the rim and bounced straight up, I was like, that thing has a chance to go in. And then it hits the rim again. And I was like, this thing is going to end up going in. And then it hits the rim again. And I was like, yeah, this is going in. And just to be sure, it hit the rim a 4th time and then fell through. And then the waterworks started from Embiid, which is kind of surprising to me, because how did he still have any water left in his body to cry out because of all the sickness that he had all series and playing as many minutes as he did? He was still quite hydrated. But yeah, the ending to that series was absolutely ridiculous. So with which one of those series really, do y'all think that the Toronto Philadelphia series was the best series because it went to game 7 and ended the way it was, or do any of the other 3 series kind of hold a candle against that series? Do you think that the Toronto Philadelphia series was the best series out of all 4?
I'd say the Portland Denver series.
Why is that? Explain. Elaborate.
They were good games all around. They went to game 7 as well. Denver blew a 17-point lead at the end. So it shows the hustle.
Yeah,
grind.
both of those teams, when I was really impressed with Denver in the first round just because of, they don't have any playoff experience. Their coach doesn't really have playoff experience, and yet they still held it together to any time that they were down to the Spurs. They just mounted a comeback. It didn't matter what game it was, how much they were down by. They just kind of stuck with what they did, and they, kept marching on and ended up being able to come back a few times. And they did the same thing with Portland in a few of the games. But Portland was the same way, is with the types of players, with the type of player Dame and CJ are, no lead is really safe, because all it takes is is, you know, a 5-minute stretch of them getting hot and running just high pick and rolls with them, and you can't stop it.
It's rigged. It's rigged. The Pelicans got it. The Pelicans won it.
Who got number 2?
The Grizzlies. Mike Conley's out. It's fucking rigged.
So I already know Lakers got number 4.
Yep.
Who got 3?
Knicks.
Jeez.
Yeah, they can't catch a break. So the Pelicans.
I mean, and it's funny because we were kind of talking about that before we started recording about the whole rig thing, and you know, Alvin, you brought up Patrick Ewing. One of the things that, you know, I kind of like, you can kind of look at it is Chicago, when they had the number 1 pick, they got the number 1 pick, just happened to be the year that Derrick Rose was the best player in the draft, and he's the Chicago boy. It's like they it seems like, you know, all right, yeah, Chicago was a bad team, and they end up with the number 1 pick the year that they get to draft the Chicago kid. The Pelicans, when they got Anthony Davis, if you remember, that was right after he'd won the national championship with Kentucky, was definitely the best player in that draft, but it was also the year, the year after the whole Chris Paul debacle, possibly moving the team.
That was the year after?
The selling of the NBA had the team, and Tom Benson bought the team and saved the team. It was the year after they traded Chris Paul.
I thought that was
had the worst record in the league, and then got Anthony Davis.
I thought that was like 3 or 4 years before that.
Yeah.
That was 2011.
The Chris Paul trade happened in 2011?
It happened 2010.
I thought it happened in like 07, 08.
I feel like that happened so early too.
Yeah.
No, that was
Wow.
And it feels forever ago, but I'm pretty sure it was like 2009 that the Spurs were having to play Chris Paul and David West with New Orleans in the first round. I mean, I'm going to double check this, but
I thought that was like 07.
But he started 2011, 2012 was his first year with the Clippers.
Damn. That's wild. Felt like so long ago.
So yeah, the 2011, 2012 Hornets, the first year Chris Paul had gotten traded, were 21-45. And then the next year Anthony Davis was a rookie. So yeah, the year after that happened. And it's funny how, you know, this year you have the Anthony Davis trade debacle and all the drama that filled that team, and they get the number 1 pick.
So now they're all like, yeah, you still want to leave?
Right. That's the thing. It's
Peace
like,
out.
Shit. And he never said he really wanted out. Didn't he come back and say, like, I'm not...
He said he was willing to talk with David Griffin.
Yeah.
If I'm the Pelicans, there's no way in hell that I'm keeping Anthony Davis.
Really?
Why?
Because, you know, you can build on Zion. Anthony Davis torch that fan base. So you trade Anthony Davis for one of these crazy packages that he could get from Boston or even LA. It might not be the best package, but it's still, you know, better than nothing. And you can pair Zion with Julius Randle and Drew Holiday and whoever you end up getting back for Davis.
Well, that's why I'm saying that now the Pelicans are in that seat where
and you turn
go ahead and leave then. We'll
you turn Zion Williamson into the face of your franchise, somebody who just wants to play basketball, which is, I mean, you kind of saw that with Anthony Davis too, and Kawhi Leonard in instances, well, for the most part, it's like these guys, they came out and you're like, oh, they just want to play basketball. They don't care about where they play. They don't care about who they play for. Like, they just want to go out and win and be the best player that they can be. And then the Kawhi shit happens, and Anthony Davis, that shit happens, and it's like, well, that, like, Anthony Davis just, like I said, he just torched the Pelican fan base saying, like, I don't want to play here anymore. And
I don't know. I feel like that could still be like repaired if he's
Yeah.
like he sat down with David Griffin and they came to like a medium or whatever, like came to an understanding. The fans won't be like, no, we don't want him here anymore because blah blah blah. They're gonna accept him back.
But they're winning.
That's how they accepted LeBron back in Cleveland.
right. But LeBron also had a much bigger track record of success than Anthony Davis.
Well, yeah, because he won 2 championships.
And point to a season where Anthony Davis was healthy for the entire season.
Rookie year.
And I don't even think he was healthy then.
Not because he won the Olympic gold that year.
So 2016, 17, and 17, 18, he played 75 games. So that's the most. The rest of the time has been like 68, 67, 64, 61, 56. And even the years he had 75 games played, he was still banged up. He like played through a shoulder injury and he played hurt. He wasn't fully healthy the entire time. But yeah, the Pelicans, I think if I'm that GM, there's no way in hell I'm keeping Anthony Davis when I can get back assets and
I'm calling the Celtics and I'm saying Terry Rozier and package me some pieces with Terry Rozier. You get Anthony Davis.
I don't. You're saying let me trade Anthony Davis for a backup point guard?
Terry Rozier?
Behind Drew Holiday. He's not better than Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday wants to play it too, though. So you can move him to that 2 spot and you got Rozier for your point guard.
But I don't like the fit with Rozier. I think Rozier's fit. I think he fit well in Boston.
You prefer Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, absolutely. To pair alongside Williamson and Drew Holiday and Randall, I would prefer Jaylen Brown. If there's any way of getting Jason Tatum, but they have maybe even trying to sneak in Al Horford in a deal. But if I'm the Pelicans, I don't keep Anthony Davis. He's too valuable of an asset that you can get other things and just turn it not necessarily as crazy as the process was, where like you could tell that they were intentionally tanking, but turn it into a look, you just said you wanted it out, we're trading you now. Zion is the face of our franchise. Like, you are no longer the face of our franchise, and just go along with that. So that's I mean, a little bit of the tangent from the playoff talk, so let's get back on that. We'll just get into I know you had said that the Denver-Portland series you think was the best series. Alvin, which series do you think was the best series of the 4?
I also think Denver and Portland was the best one.
See, I am a little different here because I think even I do think Golden State Houston was the best series. One had more storylines, it had more intrigue. The games were wildly dramatic, like every one of them. Like Portland and Denver was a good series, but that was one that you could turn off, go to bed, wake up, see who won, and then just watch the recap and be like, all right, cool, I got enough of that. But with Houston and Golden State, that's one where it's like you want to watch what happens. Can Houston actually overcome their playoff struggles? Bless you.
Thank you.
Can Chris Paul and James Harden show up in the playoffs? Like, can D'Antoni's system work in the playoffs? You had so many storylines, and then Kevin Durant goes down, and you're like, oh shit, the Red Sea is parting for the like literally the Red Sea for Houston, and then they end up just fizzing out like in Game 5.
That's that same old story though, fizzling out when it counts.
But even in Game 6 and Houston losing, they only lose that game because Steph Curry has an all-time second half. Like, he has 33 points in the second half after having an 0 in the first. He has 16 points in the last 5 minutes himself. Yeah, the Rockets didn't help themselves out because James Harden had 2 terrible turnovers late. They couldn't hit a shot. Their offense was, let's just jack up threes. And my biggest complaint from them is when you build your system around getting free throws and 3-pointers and you don't care about those mid-range jump shots, and that's all you're trying to do is bait fouls and shoot 3-pointers. When your 3-pointers aren't falling and you're not getting to the foul line, you can't win. It is impossible for you to win. You are relying too heavily on these to work out for you, that the probability of it working out for you is not as good as if you adapt to, taking a couple 2-point shots, posting somebody up. They got to the free throw line in Game 6 17 times. The Golden State Warriors got to the free throw line 23 times and made 6 more. And it ended up being, it ended up being a 3-point game, even though that doesn't, it ended up being a 5-point game. But, that really doesn't tell the whole story. But they ended up choking. I think the Rockets really did choke in this series. They're not going to get that type of opening with this roster against that team again. So, but like I said, even though it didn't go to a Game 7, it still had all the drama, I think, night in, night out, other than maybe Game 1 or 2. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but one of those games was just ugly. And Game 2. It was Game 2 because that was when the refs kind of took over and started calling a bunch of fouls and dragged that game out. And Game 2 was kind of an ugly game, but other than that, every game somebody was playing incredibly on both sides, and I think it held as much drama as these other series. So with that with those series now over, who has been the most outstanding player to you so far these playoffs? Alvin, I'll let you lead off.
For me, I think it's a no-brainer. It's Siakam, really.
He's been the most outstanding?
Yeah.
Out of everybody in the playoffs.
Well, I'm not going with the...
He's been carrying hard.
I'm not going with the typical main three. Somebody that's most impressive to me that's been outstanding.
Well, I didn't say most impressive. I said most outstanding.
Well,
who's carried their team the hardest?
I mean, that's Kawhi carrying them the hardest, but
I think Siakam is a fair answer.
Yes, I mean, but I'm saying him because he his numbers jumped in the playoffs compared to his regular season.
He's
and since Kyle Lowry has been playing like trash.
He's been playoff Kyle Lowry.
He's been playing
typical trash form. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Siakam came in, he was like, "Nah, bro, I'll help you out."
Yeah, Siakam's definitely been playing great basketball, and
I just didn't want to name the typical three.
That's all right. I'll take care of that. Andrew,
we got this.
Who has it been for you?
One of the typical three.
Yeah.
Giannis.
Greek freak. Yeah.
Of course. He was flexing that MVP.
He locked up the MVP.
The votes were in a fucking month ago.
Regular season award.
Well, I'm just saying
regular season award.
He was flexing.
You feel that was done a month ago?
Yeah.
Nah, bro. This performance right here.
This ain't the lottery.
Yeah.
they did the George Bush count, bro.
No.
It was
George Bush count.
James Harden won the MVP. It's nah, hold on, wait, we gotta change that.
No, it's a regular season award, and I mean, I'm pretty sure he won it. but he just solidified that choice for those voters, like what he did and what he has been doing all season.
All season is just consistently this.
Is there anything like explicitly you want to state as to why you chose Giannis, other than the fact that?
I mean, it's Giannis.
Yeah,
he's Giannis is doing Giannis things.
He's a Greek guy.
He's fucking yeah. I mean, I could. There's plays. He can show that dominance over
Nobody on the Celtics.
damn near everybody.
Nobody on the Celtics could check him.
No,
He dominated.
Yeah, that was.
series.
he's got the size. He's got the length.
I'm interested to see what. Because I picked Brad Stevens to win Coach of the Year before the season started, mainly because I thought the Celtics would be the best team in the East, and he hadn't won the Coach of the Year award yet, and that's just kind of how things work in my mind. Is this person's been so good for so long, but he hasn't won this award yet, so all he has to do is show some semblance of previous forms, and he's going to win that award.
That's why Russ won an MVP.
That's why Kobe won his MVP.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons.
Shaq got his one kind of because of the same deal, but he was also kind of the best player.
Yeah, I was like,
Charles Barkley won.
Yeah, the Charles Barkley.
Carl Malone.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett.
You've been good for so long. Here's a fucking lifetime achievement award.
It's I kind of forgot what I was
talking about MVPs.
Yeah. With Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens has shown that he can take a average talent team to the playoffs. He's shown the ability to take an above average team to a conference finals. He's shown the ability to draw up great out of timeout plays. He's shown such great ability to the point where people are saying that he's the next Greg Popovich. He's the next great head coach in the league, and he's a top 5 coach in the league. But then this year he had this roster, and he wasn't able to figure things out.
Underachieved.
I mean, to be fair, it's hard for a coach to really make something happen when one of the guys you're relying on isn't mentally back from an injury, and the other guy you're relying on needs to just take a step back and just never talk again.
That's the best part of him, though. I mean, those have been the highlights of his season.
Like, yeah, that's crazy to me. That's what a guy as good as Kyrie's best part of the season is the fact that he said, "Yeah, I called LeBron and apologized," or I'm a basketball genius, and then goes out and shoots 8 of 24 and says
22.
Well, was it 22?
Yeah,
because in the next game he goes out and shoots 7 of 24. No, 24.
Was 24 this time?
One of them was 7 of 24. One of them was 24 shots, and one of them was 22 shots.
You say you'll never see that again.
Yeah, and then the next game shot worse.
To be fair, we didn't see it again.
Yeah, I mean
it was different.
And then when he gets asked about it, he said I should have shot the ball more.
I should have shot it 30 times.
Yeah, that's what you do. You let the shooter shoot.
It's just it was all around just a terrible season for Boston, and I want to see what happens with them in the offseason, because while we just talked about Anthony Davis getting traded there, and if I was the Pelicans, I would trade Anthony Davis wherever will give me a good package. I think Boston's best chance is to kind of just let Kyrie walk.
Oh yeah, I think they plan on it.
And stick with the core that they have intact, and bump Terry Rozier into that starting spot.
This went from talking about the Greek Freak being most impressive in the playoffs to how we're going to fix Boston Celtics.
Well, it went to I'm Giannis was incredible, but I also think that Brad Stevens didn't do a good job at making adjustments, at trying to figure out how you let Giannis score his points and shut down other people, or you just hope and pray that they don't make threes. Like it seemed like there was no adjustments on either side of the ball for the Celtics, and that's like what Giannis was able to take advantage of. If you're going to stick Al Horford on him or Jason Tatum on him, he's just going to eat their lunch all day. So what do you do behind that? Not to mention what he did in the Detroit series too. He was incredible in that series.
He's just incredible.
Yeah. So my most outstanding, because I had a feeling that Andrew was going to say Giannis, is I put Kawhi.
I can't. No. We don't give Kawhi credit.
You can't back that. You're like Skip Bayless, man.
I'm over.
Fuck Kawhi.
Number 2.
I'm over the whole I hate Kawhi thing. Kawhi's a piece of shit, and like I can't believe what he did with the Spurs. Mainly because the Spurs played their part in that whole thing.
But still, we're the good guys.
He's doing things that only Kawhi can do in the league. I watched him. They gave Joel Embiid the ball at the high post, free throw line extended, and he has his back to Marc Gasol, and they start kind of clearing out, and you can see, if you watch Kawhi, you see him look at where everybody is, look at Joel Embiid, sees that he's not paying attention to his backside, and he just runs over with both hands, takes the ball out of Joel Embiid's hands, goes down for a dunk, also known as a Kawhi. If we all remember that's what we term that as Spurs fans, when he took the ball from somebody, went down on a fast break by himself and dunked the ball.
Now we call it the claw. You just got clawed, bro.
I mean, yeah, the shot that he hit to win the series was incredible, but he was also putting up numbers that nobody has in the playoffs, really. He scored the most points, the third most points ever in a playoff series, and only Michael did it not in a 7-game series. Kareem did it in the 7-game series, and the guy, can't remember who he was right above, did it in the 7-game series. And he was doing that while also playing the type of defense he does. And when his team got tight buttholes at the end of Game 7, he scored, I believe, the last 15 points for the Raptors in that game. He scored the only points that they had in the last 6 minutes of game time. He was the only one that did anything. He also missed the free throw that allowed the tie game, but he made up for the missed free throw. I was having a little bit of a flashback with free throws and him when he missed that free throw, because he was one of the ones that missed it towards the end of Game 6 of the finals before the Ray Allen shot. He is slowly kind of climbing that I'm the best player in the world scale. The one thing that I don't think he does as well as Giannis and KD is pass the ball, make plays for others. But
I was gonna say loyalty, but then you said KD, so
all these snakes in the grass.
Mm-hmm. At least Giannis is loyal.
Yeah, I mean, I think him growing up in Greece and like having the backstory he does really helps the whole him being loyal to a franchise. Whereas
that's what we thought about Kawhi too.
Kawhi's backstory is not Giannis. He grew up in LA, like in the LA area,
but still fatherless. Watch his dad get murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that he was taught, loyalty. He grew up in America watching Kobe Bryant demand a trade. And the only reason that he stayed with the Lakers was because they traded for Pau Gasol.
Yeah, so we could have done that too.
We could.
We did get Pau Gasol.
We a few years too late. But he's just, again, what he was able to do in this series. If it wasn't for him, like I don't know what other player in the league could have been put where he was and they win that series. There's maybe a handful of guys, but
maybe don't be in that situation.
That's true. That's true.
We'll have that conversation again.
So I'm gonna skip the disappointing and bounce back player because I think they're out of these teams. There hasn't been too many disappointing players.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about the series that are coming up that we would be talking about these players anyways.
Steph.
So mine was Eric Bledsoe. But let's get into the conference finals preview then, because we have it starting here in 13 minutes. Or did it already start?
No, we're halfway through the first.
Okay, then it started at 8. I wasn't sure if it was 8 or 8:30.
I was like, am I ahead of everybody?
No. So yeah, Golden State Portland has started. And so we're going to discuss that one first, so we can try to get as much of that conversation out of the way before Golden State goes on some 20-0 run and we feel bad about Portland. So, what other than the Dame Lillard Steph Curry matchup, what is the matchup that you're looking at in this series?
The Steph Curry, Seth Curry matchup. Easy. Next.
You saw the mom and dad flipping the coin?
Yeah.
Is that really your answer though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your answer, Alvin?
My answer was going to be
Golden State Portland.
Can Dame and McCollum be Splash Brothers 2.0, maybe?
So the same thing.
Yeah, it's
the same thing.
He said Steph and Clay, or not Steph.
Yeah,
Clay, Steph and Dame.
Outside of Steph and Dame, like, is there a matchup that you're looking that could decide how the series plays out?
Like Draymond and Cantor.
That's what I was going to say. Is Draymond and Cantor, because that is the one of the main matchups for me. Is can Cantor stay on the floor and not just be a pariah? Can he offensive rebound the way that he has been? And can he take advantage of how small Golden State will play?
Well, I don't think he will be able to, because, of course, Green doesn't post up. Everybody plays perimeter, so he's going to be outside the whole entire time.
Right. I didn't say
So
anything about him defensively. I was talking
I'm saying
mainly
because
about
of that he's not going to be playing as much.
Clap at him. I was saying.
So
I heard it. I just wanted to see you.
I think that coaches who do things like that really get into trouble with Golden State, because now you're playing into the hands of Golden State. You're trying to beat Golden State at Golden State's game, and guess what? Nobody's been able to do that.
They're the best at their game.
Well, yeah, but that's why they're good, because they force you to do that.
And it's why the Spurs have had good success against the Warriors in the last 4 years. They got swept 2 years ago, and they lost in 5 games last year, but that was mainly because of Kawhi,
asshole,
more than and Zaza. Those are the, but if it hadn't been for the Zaza thing, we've heard that discussion many times.
If it wasn't for Zaza, we would be going for a 3P right now.
And last year, the Spurs held their own without Kawhi for 5 games, and they were able to get one. the Spurs Pop knows that, look, if we're going to try to play into your hands, we're going to lose. So I'm going to keep my big men on the floor and slow it down, post him up, utilize that. The issue is that LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't think, is as tough as Enes Kanter is, because Kanter is going to bang and bang and bang and get a jump hook.
Well,
Aldridge is going to bang and bang and bang and shoot a fadeaway.
Well, one example I got against that argument is the Rockets play
Clint Capella.
and
Clint
look
Capella
what they
can't.
did. Look
Clint
what they
Capella
did.
can't shoot outside 6 feet. Clint Capella cannot
But he has
score outside of dunking the ball and hitting free throws.
But he has a post game. He posts up. He's a old school.
He's also
center
not.
that's
He's not as big
Enes
physically as Enes Kanter is.
But he still likes to bang.
Cantor's a better passer. The only thing I can say Clint Capella does better than Enes Kanter is dunk the ball and play defense.
Yeah,
Those are the only two things. Capella was a non-factor in that series.
And so you think Enes Kanter will be a factor?
That's why I'm saying this is my most intriguing matchup, because if Enes Kanter does what he's been able to do his entire career,
fucking tell him something.
Is he's going to offensive rebound. That's how Houston was able to maintain success, is they were able to fight for loose balls and offensive rebound and keep possessions alive. And Kanter can pass out of the post. He's a good screener, and he's not as bad offensively as Capella is outside of the paint.
No, I like it. I like Kanter. I like his game.
And that's why I think if they can use him in an efficient way, one, it might help slow the pace down, which allows Portland to have less possessions that they have to have Kanter guard pick and rolls. And two, it's like it's getting something from nothing. It's getting that Nurkic role that they were hoping to be able to have. But on the other end, what you're alluding to is if they run high pick and rolls with Draymond and Steph like they did at the end of the Houston series,
that's not going to work.
And they get Draymond into the middle of the floor with his ability to pass, and Enes Kanter is not able to recover as quickly as Capella would be able to, or PJ Tucker would be able to. Like, that's going to cause problems on the defense. So it's, to me, like, I don't care how many times Andre Iguodala and Draymond Green shoot the ball. I would, you want your guys on that high pick and roll, show at Draymond, rotate off of Iggy, stay stuck to Clay and Steph. Those are, right now, without Kevin Durant, those are their only two above average shooters.
That's why my intriguing matchup is Dame and McCollum versus Steph and Clay. Because it goes Steph and Clay as the best shooting backcourt, and then
ever.
Then you got Dame and McCollum that's right there behind them.
Yeah, but McCollum's not as good of a 3-point shooter as any of those guys. But see, the thing
that's
with
the splash.
The
thing with CJ though that I will say is that CJ does what I just criticized Houston for not doing, and CJ makes his living in that mid range, coming off the high pick and roll, getting to the free throw line, and being able to hit pull up jumpers in the mid range, and he does that successfully all the time, and it allows him to, when they go under the screen, because they want to stop him from getting into the mid-range, that's when he has the ability to shoot the three. But he shoots the mid-range to shoot the three, whereas Steph, Dame, and Clay shoot the three to get the mid-range, to get the layups. And it's kind of like in football, you run to pass the ball or you pass to run the ball, and you kind of utilize one to set up the other. Or in baseball, you throw the curve to set up the high fastball.
You fart so you can get ready to poop.
Exactly. Let the air out.
Exactly.
Good to know.
Just in case y'all were wondering.
So do y'all give Portland higher than a 10% chance of winning the series?
Yes.
Yeah.
If Kevin Durant returns in game 2, do you give Portland a higher than 10% chance of winning the series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're all in agreement there because I think
Like 11.
15 for me.
Yeah.
I think Portland, they just have such an intriguing team that I don't think it's going to be Dame and McCollum that guides them through against Golden State. They're going to need Mo Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu to shoot like 35% from 3. They're going to need Zach Collins to be able to play the like small ball lineup 5. They're going to need, they're going to need a big series from Evan Turner. He's going to be a guy that they're going to call on to help guard Steph because, he can expend his energy on defense chasing around Steph. And he's 6'8", so he can put a big body on him. And then Rodney Hood is another guy. Like those guys, as Shaq likes to say, the others, like it's going to be on them. Can one of those guys give you 15 points in a game, 18 points in a game, make a big play defensively, get a big rebound? I'm not worried about Dame and CJ, just like I'm not worried about Steph and Clay. I'm worried about with no KD, can Portland take advantage of the putrid Golden State bench? What are Kerr's rotations going to be like with a shallower bench? If they're going to rely on Jordan Bell and Kevon Looney as much as they had to in the end of Houston series, can Portland take advantage of that? So I think there's a decent chance that Portland is able to pull this off. It's just hard to see them actually doing it because 1, they don't have home court, and 2, they're going up against a much more experienced team with guys that do what when you're playing a team that their best players do what your best players do, but better. That's not a good sign. So, is there anything else that y'all would like to touch on this series before we give a prediction about it? Any other player? Any other matchup?
Nope.
No, good.
All right. So, Andrew, who's winning the series and how many games?
Golden State in 6.
I have Golden State in 6.
I have Golden State in 5.
Gentleman sweep.
Okay.
So I don't see Portland having quite enough. They're just not.
I mean, they can make a Kawhi shot to win it all.
They could.
They can get fucking 4 of them.
Except Dame would probably swish it, not.
Yeah, it wouldn't be no clunk.
Yeah.
Clunk swish.
It wouldn't be a terrible low percentage shot either.
No, it would be.
No, because it will be a 38 step back 3.
Yeah,
which
he's gonna shoot from the logo.
which they broke down the numbers about how good he's been. Like he's been the best player in the league in those shots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, where we have the 2 best teams in the East, Milwaukee and Toronto, and the 2 best players in the East, Kawhi and Giannis, squaring off. Again, same question. Matchup outside Giannis and Kawhi, because that is the big matchup. Can Kawhi slow down Giannis? Can Giannis slow down Kawhi? But it's going to what's the matchup outside of that one that really can at the end of the series you're going to be like, they won that because this matchup was won by them. Alvin?
Oh, dang. I was gonna say guard play, but
that's exactly what I was gonna
but
say.
I'm gonna say Who's the best Robin? Is it going to be Siakam or is it going to be Middleton?
Yeah, I think that's a very good matchup because Middleton was the second best player for the Bucks all season, and he was the second best player for the Bucks in the second round. And Siakam is, the most improved player this year. Had an up and down series against Philly, but has still been solid throughout. And you might actually see Siakam guarding Giannis at times because he's a little longer than Kawhi is, and that would allow them to put Kawhi on Middleton or even on an Eric Bledsoe. So that's definitely going to be an interesting one to keep an eye out for, Andrew.
Yeah,
So-
I was gonna say guard play. I was gonna come between Bledsoe and Lowry. Lowry's got to play out of his.
Well, and now that Malcolm Brogdon's back, it's Lowry, Van Vliet, and Danny Green, and it's Bledsoe, Brogdon, and they play Middleton at the 2.
Yeah.
They play Connaughton at the 2.
They got Snell
They
also.
yeah, Snell's he's their 11th man. He doesn't.
But yeah, I was just coming out of guard play. Really, who can contribute the most? Who can?
Yeah, see, I actually was kind of going with, the Brook Lopez, Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol tandem, that matchup, because Brook Lopez has become this like dead-eye three-point shooter. Can Marc Gasol and Serge play like big minutes against what they're going to do? And can they take advantage of can they like the same thing I said with Canner is like, can they stay on the floor enough, because they're going to try to play this 5-out offense if Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol are on the floor, but your rotations have to be crisp against Milwaukee. If they're not crisp, it's going to be a Giannis dunk or a wide open 3. And there's no two ways around that. So
You got to add Mirotic into that.
it is
Brook Lopez and Mirotic, they're going to be outside in
right.
the 3.
And they can you switch and rotate well enough to where when it comes down to Giannis at the rim, are one of those guys there to protect it? And on the other end, can they be good enough to space out the floor well enough so that Kawhi and Siakam and Lowry can have their driving lanes and do what they do? So I really think that it's going to come down to who gets the most out of those players. So if Brook and Mirotic are just knocking down everything they see, Toronto has no chance. But if Serge and Gasol can hold their own against those two guys and still be able to help defensively enough to prevent Giannis from going for 35 a night, I think that's going to say a lot about who wins that series. So now, what's the prediction for this series? Andrew, I'll let you go first.
Bucks and 5.
Just
Damn, son.
Bucks and
just
5.
too good. They're just it's their time. It's the
Yeah.
Giannis show.
Yeah,
Toronto not having enough, or you're just also hating on Kawhi still?
I don't think he could carry that hard. I mean, he can carry hard. I don't think he could carry hard enough.
Yeah. It's up road sledding if he gets the same kind of help that he got in the Philly series. But I think one of the differences there is that Philly had bigger, better defenders than Milwaukee does. Even though Milwaukee has the best defense in the league, like, it's Giannis and Middleton. Like, Brogdon's a good defender and Bledsoe's a good defender, but, they're not 6'8" to 7'3" guys. Like, Joel Embiid is like one of the best rim protectors in the league. Yeah, I kind of think that Kyle Lowry is going to have a bounce back series because I think he's going to have more openings than he did in the last series. So we'll definitely.
Well, I mean, he's been given openings. He just can't take advantage of them.
He needs to get his shot going. He needs to start knocking down some stuff.
He can't finish it off.
He's also really banged up.
It's a fucking playoffs. We all are.
I know. I was just Alvin, what's your prediction?
Well, I agree with my boy Drew again. I'll say Bucks in 5. We on this wavelength.
I'm gonna say Bucks in 7.
Oh, okay.
I think
just want to be different.
Always.
Go for chaos.
Well, this isn't chaos because it's the number 1 seed winning. If I wanted chaos, I would have had Brooklyn Nets in this position. Before the season started, going back to that preseason prediction show that we did, Andrew, you talked about, well, who did Milwaukee add? Because you would put Washington as your 4 seed over Milwaukee.
Who does that?
And looking back on it, that Washington thing was not a good look. But
and John Wall we trust.
But I mean, at the time, you could kind of see it because they were a good team.
You didn't think he was gonna fucking be out for more than half the season.
The whole season, and ended up being the whole season.
Yeah.
But you asked, who did Milwaukee add roster wise? And yeah, they added Brooke Lopez and they added Mirotic in the middle of the season. My answer to you was they added Coach Bud. They got a competent coach who has really changed the identity of this team and realized what Giannis could do. And since that happened, they've been the best team in the league.
Yeah, it's like the whole what's his name? Golden State.
Kerr.
No, before Kerr.
Jackson?
Yeah. Was it Mark Jackson?
Mark Jackson.
Yeah, Mark Jackson could only take them so far. They needed Steve Kerr to put them over the top.
He taught them how to play team defense and taught them how to be professionals.
That's what Jason Kidd was to Coach Bud.
And then Kerr unlocked the Pandora's box. And Bud has unlocked Pandora's box with Giannis.
Yeah.
And I just think that, there are going to be games where I don't think a road team wins a game this series. I think the home team wins every game. And with Milwaukee having the home court advantage, I just see Giannis being a little too much and snatching the best player in the East crown going into next season. And with that, we all have Milwaukee, Golden State.
Yes.
Yep.
And so that's going to be, I think that'll be an all-time finals, especially if Kevin Durant comes back. Because I think with Kevin Durant and this Golden State roster and the way that Milwaukee's played with Giannis and all of the guys they have, I think that series could be just absolutely incredible. So that kind of wraps that part up. Let's get into On Fire, and Dire, and Prophecies. Andrew, you can lead off here again.
My fire, I've got this Portland and Golden State game. I got Portland. They need to be able to snag this first game without KD. Fucking kick them while they're down.
Yeah, it's a big game for Portland. I think they definitely need to pull this out if they have a chance at winning the series. Because if they can't win this game, then it doesn't really show. They do have the 3 at home, but man, not being able to take this is really going to be a bummer for them.
Did y'all see Drake after the Sixers and Toronto game?
He showed that he was wearing Sixers.
He was wearing Sixers shorts.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Alvin, you guys.
Who's on fire for you?
My on fire is the Minnesota Twins. quietly number one in the AL Central, and I mean, they're clicking. Like I said, the Twins, they're that team that always be like, oh wow, the Twins are actually doing good, but it surprises you because they do it so quietly.
My fire, I mean, I have to really give it to the Pelicans for winning the Zion sweepstakes. But it's not just because they won Zion. What getting the number one pick did is what I talked about earlier about trading Anthony Davis. Like, it unlocks, even if they don't, like, it unlocks way more opportunities that they had if they would have said, like, if they would have gotten the 5th or 6th pick, there wouldn't be this like endless possibility. Like, they would have needed to figure out some way to work with that. But now getting Zion, it opens up the option of finding suitors for Anthony Davis, convincing Anthony Davis to stay, and really try to spin it into a positive to where the fans aren't just killing that guy every game. Like,
if you're the Pelicans, do you shop it or do you wait for someone to come to you?
I wait.
If you're the Pelicans, the Knicks call you and they say they'll give you their number 3, Knox, Smith, and Robinson for Anthony Davis.
Well, there's already reports saying that the Pelicans are open to some kind of trade for that number 1 pick, and that all eyes are on the Knicks to make a move for it.
To get the number 1 pick?
To trade for that pick.
If I'm the Knicks, I'm not trading for that pick. I'm trading for Anthony Davis. I'll give you my number 3 and solid pieces to build around.
Yeah, it's that's why I said, like, the world is the Pelicans' oyster right now. They have so many like options, and they don't have to like go shopping Anthony Davis now. They can they can meet with him and like say, hey, here's what the plan is. Look,
well, we would love already saying he still wants to be traded.
We would love for you to stay. We're going to draft Zion. We think y'all would pair really like well together. But if you don't want to stay at all, we can shop you. Or if you want to stay, like, we can listen to offers still. We won't go actively shop you. We can listen to offers and like give you a heads up on what the offers are, and like really, communicate with each other and make it like a working relationship. Instead of, one side going out and doing their own thing and then the other side doing their own thing, and then they look back at each other and they're like, fuck you. So, but that's why I put the Pelicans as fire, is because now they were able to take a lose-lose situation as being a bad team needing to get rid of their face of the franchise best player, to now possibly keeping him or trading him and building around this once in a generation type of athlete. And if Zion, comes remotely close to his potential, he's a 15-year all-star. So that's who I have there. As far as in Dyer, I have Terry Rozier, because he came out and said that if the Celtics stay intact, he doesn't think that he can stay, which really alienates it, because if they do break up, you just said you don't care if you leave, and Boston fans will remember that because they're spiteful. It's not like you showed up and helped carry your team any further. Like, you didn't. I don't think he had a great year in general. So, like, he doesn't have a platform to stand on as far as being able to say, I don't care, I'm out of here. And like, I just feel like he coming out and saying that after the season really is a bad look on him. And that's why he's in Dyer for me. Andrew, who's in Dyer for you?
My Dyer, I got Thug Rose, UFC 237 this past weekend. She got slammed unconscious lost a belt to a KO. She didn't get slammed on her head. She got slammed on her neck, and that put her out right away. It's kind of rough.
Alvin,
Super bad for your brain.
yeah. What's the next big UFC? Because I know like Dos Anjos is this
Cormier
this
is
week.
fighting. It's part 2 on that one fight. Yeah.
John Jones fights 239 4th of July weekend. We'll be having that one. But before that, I don't know. What's the big June?
There's
June card?
June 29th is Woodley and Lawler too.
Oh, isn't that also isn't Cowboy on that one?
Is it wrong?
Yeah. Cowboy's fighting like 17 times this year.
I was about to say he just fought. I was about to say he just fought in the not in this last one, but the one
Yeah, he
before.
fought like a month ago. He's ready to fight again.
No, I don't see him on this one.
I think they're if he's not on this next, if he's not on it, he's gonna be. He's booked there. I think they already booked him for another fight.
Then there's Woodley Lawler 2, and then Jones Santos July 6th, and then Cormier Miocic 2.
His next fight is June 8th against Tony Ferguson.
That'll be a good one.
UFC 238. That's this fucking month.
Yeah.
That's that Lawler one, the Woodley and Lawler card.
No. It was earlier than that. The one coming up, it might be the Korean Zombie one. But I mean, UFC has I mean, mixed martial arts and boxing are both kind of back into, I feel like there was a little bit of a lull the last couple of years because, Floyd leaving and not having really a big time boxer for a couple of years. And then, I mean, you have the Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and Triple G, Canelo, Lomachenko. Like, you have this new brand and you have all these places to show it, and
DAZN.
I think boxing grew because now the fighters, they do want to fight the top guy.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about getting that DAZN, getting a subscription just because of
all
all the fucking fights. I think that the Bellator's on DAZN.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And they got like fucking Pride Kickboxing, I think, and
Yeah, they have a lot of shit, and
there's always a fight going on. They've got like they got the backyard fights in Miami, I think.
and bare knuckle boxing in Ireland.
Yeah, they got all that shit, dude. It's crazy.
Alvin and Dyer for you.
They got the Kumite.
Oh man,
Nobody's supposed to know about that. Though. That's on DAZN, R-rated.
DAZN
package.
exclusive
Yeah.
Kumite.
you gotta prove that you're 18 and up for that. My Dyer, Barcelona, man. They had that, and you want to talk about greatest choke job?
That was ridiculous.
That was a fucking choke job. How do you let them score 3?
I mean, it's not. And it's funny because it's like the next day, Ajax almost upped them because they were up 2-0 with in the 52nd minute, and then ended up giving 3 goals in the last 40, including one
in the 90th minute,
the 95th minute.
Yeah,
it just couldn't get the ball cleared. Dropped to a guy. He was able to get it into the box.
Like that whole scenario was just horrible, but the biggest choke job right there, Barcelona, man.
Yeah, not being able to get anything out of Messi and Suarez and Rakitic, your back line just being torn apart.
Not only that, you got Dembele also. You got Malcolm. Like, how is that possible?
I mean, they did leave the first.
Didn't you know? Kevin Garnett said it. Anything is possible.
They did leave the first leg with the, Liverpool really had a chance to win that game. Like, it's the fact that they lost 3-0 in the first leg really said something about like Liverpool, because they if you look at just how the game was played and not the goals scored, you would probably walk away saying Liverpool was the best team on the pitch. And then in leg 2, they showed that they were the better team overall.
See, like that
which
that match
shouldn't
one
have been the case.
That match one was like, yeah, Liverpool's the best team, but Messi played like the best player in the world that
Right.
match. And then match 2, it was just like the best team came and showed out, and then nobody from Barcelona showed out.
It was eerily similar to all of the World Cups with Argentina and any world competition.
Oh, and you got Coutinho. Like, yeah, I'll keep going.
So prophesize now, Alvin.
My prophecy though, sticking with football, soccer, I say Spurs make the upset and beat Liverpool in the championship.
Spurs in the offseason already.
I'm sorry. That they're going to win the championship.
Yeah. But
You say Spurs in San Antonio, and the last thing people think of is Tottenham, England.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck is that?
Who was Harry Kane?
What's a Tottenham? Sounds like a fucking dish.
What is a hot spur, anyway?
Can I get an order of the Tottenham, please?
Andrew, what's your prophecy for the week?
My prophecy this time next week when we record, Bucks will be up 3-0 over the Raptors.
Ooh. Well, my prophecy, as I always do, is when a major happens, is go golf or tennis. So it is golf this week with the PGA Championship starting on Thursday. First major since Tiger won the Masters. I am prophesizing that Tiger will miss the cut. And it's his first tournament back. And I think the rust in the PGA Championship and Beth Page Black will strike. And he won't have a great showing and miss the cut. So with that wraps up this episode of the Benchwarmers podcast. Next week, we'll be talking about what we have seen so far in the conference finals and some other things. So I am Casey Coggins, joined by Alvin Hebert.
Next time.
And Andrew Lira.
Golden State's only up by 7 right now.
Ooh.
We are